Good morning students, welcome to the next online perio theory class. Okay, so today we will be talking about resective osseous surgery. So before I come to the details of resective osseous surgery, few basic concepts like always I'll explain to you. So one is, you know that periodontal disease will cause destruction to the periodontium, and destruction to the periodontium would mean that there is loss of supporting alveolar bone. And this loss of supporting alveolar bone would like you broadly tend to categorize it as horizontal bone loss or vertical bone loss. Okay, but most of the time it will be a combination of horizontal and vertical. Okay, so this will cause tooth mobility further, so that is not our area of concern today. One point is clear to you: periodontal destruction will cause alveolar bone loss, which is broadly categorized as horizontal or vertical. Okay. Next is exostosis. What is exostosis? Bulbous bony protuberances. This bulbous bony protuberances will also lead to alteration in the morphology of the alveolar bone. The third condition is tooth supraeruption. If there is supraeruption of your teeth, then also there will be disruption in the morphology of the alveolar bone. Okay. So broadly, because of these three conditions, you will do something called as osseous surgery. Okay, this osseous surgery can be additive osseous surgery or subtractive osseous surgery. Okay, now additive osseous surgery is what? Additive osseous surgery is, for example, regenerative procedures. Okay, so for example, if there is one tooth and there are three walls around the tooth, okay, and one wall is missing, then you can put bone graft material and you can help in regeneration of the lost periodontium. So that is something that is always advised, additive osseous surgery. Okay, then there is another thing called as subtractive osseous surgery. Okay, so this subtractive osseous surgery is when you are doing procedures to recontour the shape of the original alveolar bone, or it might be to even modify it into a more apical level to help not further progress periodontal destruction. Okay, so I hope additive and subtractive is clear to you. Additive is regenerative procedures and subtractive is resective procedures, okay, in which you are modifying the alveolar bone to either the same level or maybe slightly more apical level. Okay, so before you know about the pathogenesis and what is wrong, you have to know what is right. Okay, so for that I have this model with me. For example, this pink wax is the gingiva, and once the gingiva is stripped, this is your entire alveolar bone. Okay, and this is the tooth. Okay, so you have to know that always in healthy condition there would be positive architecture. Now what is positive architecture? Very, very important. The level of your interdental bone is always coronal to the level of your interradicular bone. Okay, it goes like this: down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, so that is positive architecture. What is negative architecture? Negative architecture is the reverse of this. The level of your interdental bone is more apical to the level of your interradicular bone. If it was like this, okay, then that would be your negative architecture. And if the level of the alveolar bone was same in the interradicular space as well as the interdental space, then it would be flat architecture. Okay, so that point is important to know, that the interproximal bone is more coronal in position, okay, than the facial, interproximal facial. Okay, so that is regarding the positive architecture. Second, you need to know that the form of the interdental papillae. For example, in the anterior region, you see it is more pyramidal in shape. Okay, the scalloping. Whereas in the posterior area, it will be more flat. Okay, it will be more flat in the posterior area compared to the anterior area, in which it will be more pyramidal in shape. Okay, So now you know what is positive architecture, flat architecture, negative architecture. Now there is something called as definitive osseous reshaping, which implies that further osseous reshaping would not improve the overall result. Definitive osseous reshaping, which means even if you do anything further, it's not going to improve the result. And there is something called as compromised osseous reshaping. Compromised osseous reshaping means indicates a bone pattern that cannot be improved without significant osseous removal that would be detrimental to the overall result. Okay, so which means you have to do certain procedures so that it stays at least the way it is, like, you know, to prevent further destruction type. So now there is something called as osteoplasty and there is something called as ostectomy. Osteoplasty is you are just reshaping the bone. Ostectomy, on the other hand, is you are cutting the bone. Okay, the removal of tooth supporting bone is ostectomy. Now this ostectomy you can do with the help of hand instruments, you can do it with the help of you can do it with the help of rotary instruments, or you can do it with the help of hand instruments. Now hand instruments, for example, I've got this ronger, got a bone file, see, okay, or you can use rotary instruments. Now before you do subtractive procedures, case selection is extremely important. If there is in any which way, if there is a 3-wall defect, like I told you earlier, which you can opt for regeneration, you must never go for subtractive osseous surgery techniques. This would be indicated, for example, if there is a crater or a 1-wall defect, or for example there are deep 2-wall defects, okay, which requires reshaping, because otherwise there would be more periodontal destruction in that area. Okay, so I have indications as to what in what conditions you should do resective osseous surgery. Inconsistent bony margins, reverse architecture I told you, negative architecture, 1-wall defect, ledges, plateaus, furcation defect, crown lengthening for restorative procedures. All these are indicated for resective osseous surgery. Now what are the contraindications? Extensive bone loss, high caries activity, existing mobility, aesthetic zones. All these reasons are self-explanatory. If it is in the aesthetic zone, if there is mobility, if there is extensive bone loss, if there is high caries activity of the tooth, you will obviously not opt for subtractive techniques. The advantage is that it is predictable. It is one of the most predictable modality for pocket reduction. Okay, you are anyways cutting the alveolar bone off, there will be no pocket. So there is one of the most predictable treatment for pocket reduction. So it's predictable, complete elimination of pocket, and obtains the ideal bone form. Whereas the disadvantage is there is loss of valuable supporting bone, there can be gingival recession and its sequelae, lengthy unpleasant post-surgical recovery and post-surgical mobility. So all these things are the disadvantages. Indications, contraindications, advantages, disadvantages are given very clearly in Carranza. I just read it out from there. Please study it properly. Okay, resective osseous surgery, indications, contraindications, it's extremely important to know. So for example, you have a case, it is indicated for resective osseous surgery. Okay, it falls under the indication criteria. Then what do you have to see? You have to always take a radiograph. You must take a radiograph. You must evaluate the level of the bone, okay, the type of bone, what would be the prognosis after you do the treatment, what type of periodontitis was it, and for example, if you have done phase 1 therapy on it already, like non-surgical procedure, if you have done, what is the outcome of the phase 1 therapy? Has the response been good enough that you should proceed further for the next surgical procedure? Evaluation of aesthetics, all these are extremely important. You must know the depth and configuration of the bony lesion, amount of bone that requires removal, extent of attachment loss, number of remaining walls present, the amount of soft tissue present interproximally. Okay, so I'll once again repeat this. Factors in selection of resective osseous surgery: You have to plan your treatment properly, take radiograph, check for the amount of bone remaining, check that how much of bone has to be reduced, will there be mobility, what is the crown root ratio after that, then the type of periodontitis, if it was periodontitis that led to this condition, the type of periodontitis, what was the result of your phase 1 therapy, has it been good to further go for surgical procedure, and obviously if it would affect the aesthetics of the person. Okay, so these are the factors in selection of resective osseous surgery. So now you have understood in what conditions you have to do resective osseous surgical procedure, and so I just thought to show in the model how to do the resective osseous surgical surgery. Okay, so first of all, obviously you will reflect the flap. Okay, after that the first step that they say is vertical grooving. Vertical grooving means, like I have shown over here, you will put vertical grooves. Okay, this will help to reduce the thickness of the alveolar housing, okay, and the prominence of the radicular area of the tooth. So vertical grooves are placed. Please note that this step is contraindicated if the alveolar housing is very thin. Okay, thin cortical plates, you should not do vertical grooving. You should not, ideally you should not go for resective procedures. Okay, so there is vertical grooving, and after vertical grooving the next step is radicular blending. Radicular blending means you are blending the area of alveolar bone in between the grooves. Okay, so this is radicular blending, and after radicular blending you have something called as usually this first and the second step is sufficient to correct grade 1 and grade 2 furcation defects. Okay, the next step is flattening the interproximal bone. Flattening the interproximal bone, now this is an ideal condition, but otherwise in the areas where there is hemisepta or one wall defect and all, where it is important to flatten the bone so that the bony margin does not help in further microbial accumulation in that area, to flatten the interproximal bone. So that this step is indicated then, and the last step is gradualizing the marginal bone. Okay, so the marginal bone, it is important to gradualize the marginal bone maximum into a positive architecture. So if you don't do that, then there are chances that there are small bony discrepancies which will remain, and then when there is healing over it, it causes widow's peaks. Okay, so those are the 4 steps of resective osseous surgery. I'll once again repeat it. Okay, so the 4 steps are vertical grooving. You place vertical grooves. Okay, it is contraindicated if the housing is very thin. Then there is radicular blending. Radicular blending will help to reduce the prominence and to blend it well. Okay, these 2 steps are sufficient if it's a furcation defect. The third one is flattening the interproximal bone, and the 4th is gradualizing the marginal bone. Gradualizing the marginal bone is important so that there is proper soft tissue adaptation and healing over it. Okay, so these are the 4 steps. So students, let us once again quickly revise everything that I taught you today. So today's theory class was on resective osseous surgery. So first thing that I told you is periodontal disease will cause loss of alveolar bone. Okay, so that is one indication where you might have to do osseous surgery. Okay, so second is if there is exostosis, which is bony protuberances, and the third is supraeruption. So for mainly for these 3 conditions you will have to do osseous surgery. Osseous surgery is basically surgery that is done on the alveolar bone, and this surgery can be additive or subtractive. Additive is always better, and it is indicated mostly in 3-wall defect cases, where you are helping to promote regeneration by restoring the lost periodontium. Okay, so that is your additive procedure. And the next is subtractive procedures. Resective osseous surgery comes in subtractive procedure. It is not your first line treatment. It is not something that is indicated all the time. Okay, it will help to either maintain the alveolar bone at the same level and contour it, or it might get the alveolar bone to a more apical level. Okay, so that was that. And the next thing is regarding positive, negative and flat architecture. What you see in the model here, it is positive architecture because your interdental bone is more coronal compared to your interradicular bone. If the entire thing is at the same level, then it becomes flat. If it is opposite, which means your interradicular bone is more coronal compared to your interdental bone, then it is negative architecture. And the type of interdental bone is also dependent upon the tooth form. In the anterior area, you can see that it will be more pyramidal compared to the positive area where the embrasure spaces are wider. Okay, and the next is definitive osseous reshaping and compromised osseous reshaping. Definitive, which means it is definitely not going to help improve the situation in any way, any procedure that you do. Compromised indicates a bone loss pattern that cannot be improved without significant osseous surgery. Otherwise, it would be detrimental to the overall result. Okay. Now, selection of treatment technique. I told you very clearly, 3 wall defects, you must go for regenerative procedures. A 1 wall defect is what is ideal for the resective osseous surgery. Okay. Then there are indications, contraindications, advantages, disadvantages. It's all very clearly given in Carranza in point form. So please refer Carranza for that. Then factors in selection. After you have selected a case which is a 1 wall defect, before you proceed, you must have a clear picture regarding how much of bone is present, how much is to be removed. Would there be any post-operative mobility in that case? Would it affect the aesthetics of the patient? You must take a radiograph to check for the ratio of the bone and the type of the bone, and the type of periodontitis, and if you have done any phase 1 therapy before that, you must check the response of the phase 1 therapy. Okay, so all these factors will affect how the outcome of your treatment will be. Okay. Then you have also you must check for the amount of soft tissue that is present interproximally. Fine. Then you have instruments. You would mostly go for hand instruments or rotary instruments. Hand instruments, you have rongers, you have bone files, and for Offenbach's chisels. I don't have the other models with me right now. Then there are rotary instruments like diamond burrs and carbide burrs and other rotary instruments. Okay, and then next is the steps of resective osseous surgery. Very, very, very important. You must do vertical grooving first, and once the vertical grooves are placed, you must make sure that you have it is totally contraindicated if the alveolar housing plates are very thin. Okay, please bear that in mind, that is contraindicated if the alveolar housing bone is very thin. The procedure is done to reduce the thickness of the alveolar housing. Okay, and the next is radicular blending, is to blend the vertical grooves that you have made. Flattening of the interproximal bone is done. Removes very small amount of supporting bone, especially only if there is a hemiseptal defect or something. Then there is gradualizing of the marginal bone, in which you're making everything into a smooth shape so that the gingiva heals very well on that. Then there's flap placement and closure, post-operative maintenance. Flap placement and closure, mostly the flap is closed at the same level. Sometimes it is closed a bit more apically, exposing a little bit of the marginal bone, but it's not really very indicated because there is more resorption in such cases and more post-operative trauma, so mostly it is sutured back in the same position. Okay, then there is post-operative maintenance. Healing should be uneven full with the attachment of flap to the underlying bone completing in 14 to 21 days. Okay, so I hope the class was useful for you. If there is anything that I have missed, I will make sure that I convey it to you some other time. Okay, thank you so much. Please tell me your comments and feedbacks. Thank you.